if we're talking heterosexual relationship, and usually it's said towards women, right? So this is a statement said traditionally towards women, which instills fear, and it really rocks the bedrock and the foundation of not just our relationship, but our security, right? Our security in this relationship, possibly a family unit, all of these other things. When you insert desire and pleasure into a pressure cooker situation, you can't actually experience true desire and pleasure. Like, you will not have blood flowing to the things you want the blood flowing to.
Yeah.
And so we just get caught in this cycle. Like, we're so afraid that if we don't, then our partner could leave us, because all of our worth, of course, is just tied up in whether or not we do it, which is absolutely asinine. But then also we get caught up in like this loop because we're so afraid if we don't, that we will lose this. But if we do, then usually it's coming from this place of fear. And when you are having sex, or you're trying to have sex, or you're trying to create desire, when your nervous system is feeling pressure or in a fear state, you never actually get access to true desire. So you're going to feel like it's impossible. You're going to feel like it's just, I'll just bite my lower lip and do it anyway because I don't want to ruin this. It really just rocks the foundation of any sort of intimacy to really thrive.
Welcome back to the Dana Grant Show, where we are not only focused on heart-centered conversations, but we're all about the pleasure revolution. I have in the house today someone who's reclaiming your power, body, desire, Danielle Savory. Wow. I'm so glad to see you again. This is like full circle having you. Everybody get a pen and paper. You're going to want to listen in. Gentlemen, ladies, everybody, all of it, because you're going to want to hear from this woman. She has got it going on, vibrating and creating. That's what you have never held back. And I have waited for this, like for us to connect and have this conversation.
I can't wait. Thanks for having me. And it's just so good to see you.
So good to see you again. So, hey, let's just dive right in. I wrote down that, let's start with this, that pleasure shouldn't be a secret, and it shouldn't be, and we're going to back up. Why should it be a secret? Why do women think it should be so secretive? Let's talk to them about why they think they have to keep this a secret and they don't talk about it.
Well, because it hasn't been safe. In the very kind of like broad terms, is the way that we've been socialized as women is desire and pleasure hasn't been presented as something for us. Can we be objects of desire? Can we be objects of pleasure? Yeah. Can we help other people facilitate their pleasure? Absolutely. But it has always been socialized that we are the conduits of other people's pleasure and their desire, that we are not necessarily the subjects to receive those sorts of things. And so it makes sense from just a nervous system standpoint, because when a system has presented it to us like that, and it's been reinforced in the media and families and culture over and over again, then the brain doesn't want to go there, and the body follows where that's going, because that could mean being alienated. It could be, being rejected. It can be feeling, just standing out in a way that you do not want to stand out in, and sometimes in harm's way, historically speaking. So I just think that there's so many different layers for it for women. But when we understand really how we have been, socialized around it, even in modern times, like this isn't like way back in the day, and the small little messages that have been passed down, from our peers, from our aunties, from our grandmothers, great grandmothers, there's so much that we have also absorbed, through our lineage and through like history, that like, of course, this isn't at the top of our mind. And of course, it's not something that we're putting out into the open, because we, on a subconscious level, and sometimes on a very conscious level, it doesn't feel safe to do so.
Wow, it's kind of like a reclamation today. Ladies, this feels like a movement. I've always thought of what you're doing as a movement. You push the envelope on what you say and claim and ask women to claim.
Yeah.
And that being said, you say pleasure is vital to our well-being, our overall health. Let's talk
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah. I mean, this is the thing is a lot of people don't understand. And I think part of it is we don't have a good definition of what we think pleasure is. So
Yeah. Yeah, let's
even
be there.
before we
I mean,
get
women
there,
are, yeah, I think
yeah.
women are going to think, what, Dana, what are you talking about pleasure? Why do you ask? Are we talking masturbation? Are we talking, what are we talking about here with pleasure?
Yeah,
Let's
I
break
like to
it
think
down.
of pleasure. It is for me, it's a broader term that I like to use.
Mhm.
There has to be some sort of delight. There has to be some sort of like enjoyment, right? Just by definition, there is something that is
Yeah.
enjoyable. But unlike a lot of other concepts, pleasure to me, it requires the felt sense of the body. So even something like happiness. This is one of, when we talk about Roman empires, like this is one of my Roman empires. It's like going to the place of the difference between happiness and pleasure and how
Yeah.
humans we pursue happiness when I really think we should be pursuing pleasure because happiness can happen in our brains. Like happiness can happen on the cognitive level. We can be like, oh, I'm so happy. I'm so grateful for my life without it actually landing in our bodies, without us actually feeling overflowing with happiness, feeling overflow with joy. Like it becomes this easy thing because conceptually we can see things that make us grateful, make us happy. Where pleasure, you can't actually experience pleasure unless there's a sensory experience. You can't experience any kind of pleasure unless you have dropped your awareness out of your head and somewhere into your body. And that's where I think that, number one, why pleasure becomes so vital is because so many of us are living from the neck up and being able to drop into the felt sense of the body and have enjoyment in what you're experiencing, whether it's a cup of tea or right now my lilacs are going crazy and I can just smell them from my window and just like that scent, that aroma, a lover's touch, like the idea of being touched by a lover, you still have a pleasurable experience because your body is still responding and you still have a felt sense of what's going on.
Well, I like that because you know what? The body, as we know, the body kind of knows the way. But a lot of times women, we don't know our own bodies. We
Yeah.
don't get to know, or we've never even been, the focus has never even been on whether it's important enough to focus on
Yeah.
pleasure,
Yeah.
just something as simple as pleasure. So why do you think female pleasure is so misunderstood and dismissed in today's culture? Maybe in
Oh.
all the cultures, but it's still, but the fact that we're still talking about it in this
Yeah.
culture is a little
Yeah.
astonishing.
Well, I mean, we could have like a 3-hour conversation on that, but basically because it has never been deemed to be important. It has never been associated to be something that people really need to care about. When we talk about like female pleasure and female sexual pleasure, it isn't required to recreate. It's not required to be able to have sex. It is not required to be able to reproduce. That's the word that I was looking for. So
Yeah.
it just has been seen so oftentimes as irrelevant. And when we've also been in a culture that has been male focus centered on pleasure, then we also have to understand anatomically speaking, that's usually in heterosexual relationships a P and the V. And when we don't actually look outside of reproduction and male sense of pleasure, there is a huge misunderstanding. And even in medical texts, it wasn't, like way late that we even started paying attention, like, oh, there's a clitoris,
Yeah.
like there's
Yeah.
all these other nerves there. And so
Yeah.
really we have to look at the male dominated field in medicine to start with, but also just in our understanding and the way that especially heterosexual sex has been presented in our society is it hasn't really been that important.
Has it changed over, let's just say that, let's just gauge the last 10 years, because you are a pleasure and intimacy expert. How
Yeah.
important is intimacy and has that evolved? Is it
Yeah.
evolving? Are you watching it at a snail's pace? Are you watching things just
Yeah. Well, I feel like It's a really interesting question, I think, to ask, especially right now, because a few years ago, if you would have asked me this question, and I'm talking like 2, 3 years ago, I would have said, absolutely. We're seeing a huge resurgence. We're openly talking about it. There's all these conversations about it. There's classes, there's sex educators. I mean, the fact that you can find a sex coach so easily, where I felt like I was like the only one when I started this 10 years ago. Like I was like, is anyone out there that's doing this kind of?
Oh, yeah. I think that when you spoke at my mastermind, and it was almost close to a decade ago,
Yeah.
you were like not only at the top of your game and field, there weren't a lot of you out there doing this. And I know you've shifted more to intimacy and pleasure, and I think a deeper connection that
Yeah.
like what grows beneath the surface that makes all of this
Yeah.
viable. And what we really yearn for, I think, is connection and intimacy.
Exactly. Exactly. But, coming back to your question about like, has it changed? But
Yeah.
since then, there has been such this resurgence in the last couple of years of the movements like the trad wife movement and, the things that have happened in the United States with female like reproduction rights. And so in a lot of ways, that has really shifted this conversation. It's also shifted a lot of censorship, and a lot more people like me and content creators and coaches like me having to find new language just so we don't continuously get shut down. So even though it's like, yes, the stuff that you're seeing, I've moved towards that. Part of that is protection so I can still reach the people that I want to reach and be able to have those conversations and coach them. And the other part is I think that so many of us, like you said, it's like pleasure is the first step, but it's like pleasure becomes the portal to something deeper that we all are desiring, which is that connection and intimacy.
What are I love that. And it's so true. I think what we really crave is something deep and connective and intimate, even though there's so much more language. And I do remember you having an enormous following, a thriving page, and having it taken out because something was said that was just a little bit too in the time and days that we live in.
Yeah.
Being removed. And I remember.
Well, it's just other people reporting. It doesn't have to be anything with me, but if it's like,
it didn't look like I was anything.
One of these, it's like one of these men that are kind of in like women, should be not heard, seen and not heard, and should be like a trad wife kind of trolling you, and they report you,
and then you
get shut down.
So yeah, I just thought that was crazy. And I'm just so glad that you found your way back, and that you're not only still here, you're still thriving, and women are still, not only needing this information, but that you are still connecting. And I know you help a lot of women. So what are the biggest lies that women have told themselves about their body, and not only their bodies, but also desire? What are the lies we tell ourselves?
Yeah, the biggest one that I see, and I still, hear it all of the time, and it is so deeply ingrained in us, is that the mood just happens. Like we just like walking around. It's like I just was talking about my lilacs. It's like all of a sudden you're like walking and you get hit in the face with like this great aroma. And we really look at desire as something like that. Like we just get hit with it. And that is not only such a wildly misunderstanding of how desire actually works, but I think it's just such a disservice to us that we don't see this as something that we can cultivate and a skill that we would want to create and something that could actually be really beneficial for us. And, and that when we put so much stock in, this biological, because is there a biological element to desire? Absolutely. But it's just like one part of it. It's like one small part of it. And when we only want to rely on biology when we live in modern society, then we're always going to come up very short when it comes to the pleasure stick. It has to take intention. It has to take effort. And I don't even want to say has to. It's like you get to put effort into this. You get to have intention with this. And when we start to see this as something that could be so beneficial for us, and not that we're victims to it, especially with all of the conversations going around menopause and perimenopause and all of the hormones.
Yeah, the new movement.
It's a huge movement and I love it, because we need to have this information and we need women to be like taking care of themselves. And there's so many symptoms that have been ignored for so long. The only thing that I wish was happening more was that women understood like that's not it, because I have worked with so many women who have gone into these, like HRT sort of situations, thinking that not only is it going to help them with their symptoms, but all of a sudden their desire is just going to come back. And
Right.
I'm like, that's not really how it works. It is this combination of your mindset, your relationship that you have with your body and your nervous system, and hormones can help, but they're not just going to all of a sudden like fix all of the desire issues that most of us have been experiencing for a very long time.
What do you think the biggest thing that shuts women down with desire? Perhaps, and that's a broad sweep, but maybe you can break that down. What is the number one thing that shuts women down?
Number one thing. I have so many things. I would say, you know, one of the main things is, especially in long-term relationships, is there so much of our drive with desire is evolutionary speaking, like helping us find our person, right? Helping us create that connection and that really strong bond.
Mhm.
Once that strong bond is established, then what is the motivation, especially if you're one of the women who it hasn't been very satisfying? So that's a huge part of it. So when you were asking, like, what about female pleasure? Do most people understand female pleasure? And the thing is like, most women don't understand their own female pleasure. Most men also don't understand female pleasure. And a lot of things, because we're afraid for a number of reasons to speak up about what we like, or we don't even know, then we kind of put it, squash it down. And so you could be like, I just have watched the second show recently. I think it's called Dying for Sex. And then there was Baby Girl with Nicole Kidman.
Yeah.
Both of these women
Yeah.
have not had orgasms with their husbands. And everybody's like, what? They've been together so long, like all this shock. And I'm like, you don't understand how like prevalent that actually is, and how many women don't experience a lot of pleasure, no fault to them, nor is it really no fault to their husband. But when they're not having it, that's that great. And now they're taking on the mental load and emotional load of a family,
Right.
and possibly a job and a husband, and it's not that great. It's like, why would you feel turned on?
Right. I was recently really surprised to hear that the average marriage, I think after a decade, goes 3 to 4 years sometimes without sex. And I'm like, oh no, the statistics must be wrong. But
Yeah.
is that true? Does that
Yeah. I mean, you would be surprised. You would be surprised. And I think the thing is like really us all dropping like the understanding and like the judgment and the shame around it, because the people that are in marriages that are considered sexless marriages, or in marriages where the frequency isn't as high as they like, let alone it's not even that good, there's so much shame. There's so much shame for both parties, that we can't even have these kind of conversations, because
Right.
the nervous system immediately shuts it down. And I just want to be like, I see you. I know you. Like, it's
No.
okay. And you're not alone. Like, this isn't a you thing. In so many cases, this is a nervous system thing, but really it's a cultural and society thing. And there's so many ways that we can allow ourselves to make some changes so that we can feel turned on and actually experience the pleasure our body's wired for.
What do you think about there's a statement out there that says if they're not, if you're not having sex at home, they're getting it somewhere else.
Oh
What do
God,
you-
that drives me
Yeah.
nuts.
Yeah. What
I
do you
have
think
all
about
the
that?
thoughts about, I hate it. I mean, I absolutely hate that statement, because number one, it puts, if we're talking heterosexual relationship, and usually it's said towards women, right? So this is a statement said traditionally
Yep.
towards women, which instills fear, and it really rocks the bedrock and the foundation of not just our relationship, but our security, right?
Right.
Our security in this relationship, possibly a family unit. all of these other things. When you insert desire and pleasure into a pressure cooker situation, you can't actually experience true desire and pleasure. Like you will not have blood flowing to the things you want the blood flowing to.
Yeah.
And so we just get caught in this cycle. Like we're so afraid that if we don't, then our partner could leave us because all of our worth, of course, is just tied up in whether or not we do it, which is absolutely asinine. But then also we get caught up in like this loop because we're so afraid if we don't, that we will lose this. But if we do, then usually it's coming from this place of fear. And when you are having sex or you're trying to have sex or you're trying to create desire, when your nervous system is feeling pressure or in a fear state, you never actually get access to true desire. So you're going to feel like it's impossible. You're going to feel like it's just, I'll just bite my lower lip and do it anyway because I don't want to ruin this. It really just rocks the foundation of any sort of intimacy to really thrive.
It feels like a lot of pressure, and tell me if I'm wrong here, is on women. As you're talking, I'm thinking in Victoria's Secret's a billion-dollar industry of how it's on us to be sexy and show up looking sexy. And, I think of a lot of old movies and, fry up the bacon in the pan and make your man happy. There was a song once that said that. I can't, probably just slaughtered that. But it's kind of like we do all the things and we show up all sexy at night. And and if it doesn't happen, the pleasure, the connection, the intimacy, it's the woman's fault. What do you think about those percentages? Because I don't see stores out there with sexy man underwear going on.
Yeah. Well, it's just because women have been, again, like presented as a commodity. They've been presented as consumption for the male gaze and for this idea of pleasure rather than presenting, these same turned on women or the same sexiness, but like, this is for me. I feel amazing. Like my body feels lit up, right?
Yeah.
Again, pleasure and desire comes back to that first question we asked, was never presented for us.
Yeah. So put the pretty things on, but feel beautiful in them and sexy and do it for you. Go to bed in beautiful lingerie. Yeah.
Yeah. Like if you want to do that, but like do it not because society's telling you, do it because you actually like it. And for most women, if you want to get in your body and have a felt sense of your body, scratchy lingerie, I don't know, maybe it's my neurodivergence, but it completely overwhelms my nervous system. I'm like, I'm not into this. Like you can look for a minute, like cool, cute. And then I'm like, get this off.
It is off of me.
Like, we're going to do that. I'm going to wear something like this, like a silk, shirt that like just like lights my senses up and lights my body up, right? Like we have to actually do something that turns us on, not just because society has told us this is sexy.
It's amazing how many women succumb to that and feel the pressure to have to perform in that area. And when I think about that is my next question is, let's talk about what happens in the brain and the body when women experience pleasure. And what does science say about that? When they really can drop in and own and the chemicals that go on with the brain from the body. As we know, the brain only responds from the body.
Yeah. So, there's so many different things that go on, but really, if we're just talking about orgasms, let's say the newer studies they've done to study the brain on orgasm is how I like to say it, is there's more areas of the brain that are lit up in any other activity we can do, meaning that we have more oxygenation and activation than literally any other activity we could possibly do. So if that alone, I feel is motivating me being like a neuroscientist and like a brain nerd, I'm like, yes, please. But really what I love to think about when we talk about the brain is in order to experience like the level of pleasure that you want to experience, the level of intimacy, your nervous system has to be in a particular state. So not only are you developing skills to make your brain and body kind of this like nice, like fertile ground for pleasure to thrive. So in that practice, you're also giving yourself so many benefits, just dropping out of the fight, flight, or freeze, lowering your cortisol, helping your heart, yada, yada. We know all of that stuff too, right? But then what happens when we actually turn towards pleasure and we get turned on and we're feeling those things and stuff like creativity spikes, the way that our neurochemicals are working in our brain, creativity spikes, like the energy alone, parts of our brain that are involved in calm, in groundedness, in actual connection. When we talk about intimacy, like in the connection that we want, neurochemicals like oxytocin, are produced, serotonin, which is more of that like really like satisfying feeling, not like the quick hit of dopamine reward, but like, oh, this feels so good, like that satisfaction. Not only to say that we also just to help like create resilience. It makes our brain more resilient. We start to allow the amygdala, which is kind of this alarm bell system, to like come down and not be so easily triggered. Like there's just so many incredible things that happen with our brain and body, not just in the pursuit of pleasure, but also in the experience of it.
Well, you just answered that question about creativity, resilience, and vitality. That's absolutely, on point. But why do you say pleasure is a path to liberation?
I think it's because of so many of the things that we've already just covered in the last few minutes, and we could go on. But because pleasure has been off limits, because it's been seen only as a reward or something to be earned, or for men and not for women, or only allowed in certain arenas, we have to work through so many of these limiting beliefs in order to pursue pleasure, in order to experience. And it's one of these areas that you really have to take looks at. What is my relationship with like productivity and feeling self-worth? How is my relationship with my body? When am I feeling like rejecting of my body? We have to experience self-compassion. We have to like take a look at so many of these different messages that we have been kind of layered on top of us and bust through them. And it's one of the only places that I've seen that there are so many beliefs placed upon us that in order to experience true pleasure and continue this pursuit of pleasure, you have to break through them. You have to break through all of them. And it's so cool because that's when like real liberation begins to happen. Like this is created by me. This is for me. I'm worthy of it. And all of these messages that I've been receiving, I am going to break through and create new neural pathways, which is a liberation to our freedom.
So the women that are listening right now, and they're hearing this, they're feeling it, they're like, okay, how can they change their relationship with pleasure? What are some moves they can do right now? They don't have to wait. They can implement it right now. They can say, I'm changing my relationship right now. I'm doing it.
Yeah. Yeah. I would say the first thing is to decide to turn towards pleasure, sexual or not, at least once a day. And knowing that we have pleasure at any given moment, right? It's like you can just, like my skirt right now, it's so silky and it's so nice and it feels really good on my buns. Like,
and I love that green skirt. You walk across the room and I'm like, I friggin' love that olive green skirt. You are wearing a beautiful silk skirt. Yes. So
it's like little things like that. Like it doesn't have to be big, but the more that you train your brain to turn towards it and like, I'm worthy of this moment right now. Like I'm receiving it, like actively taking it in. That's a huge part. And I think everybody should schedule a sexy time, intimacy, whether with themselves or with a partner. That's like my go-to. If you want to see what's standing in the way between you and pleasure, put it on the calendar and you will quickly find out.
Ooh, I love that. If you want to see what's standing in your way of you and pleasure, put it on the calendar. That was like you just hit my heart energy. It's like I was thinking massage time. Oh, cashmere makes me feel sexy. I'm thinking but when you said that, I thought, yeah, but I am one of those women that I will tell you in full disclosure, being married for 25 years and finding out that, there was a lot of infidelity. And I found out in a very shocking way. And there was so much trust, but there was a lack of intimacy and connection. And my heart was so sad over that. But I thought it was due to something, an accident that had happened. But come to find out, it was about something very different. And, that saying that someone said, hey, if it's not happening there, it's happening somewhere else. And I swore that wasn't happening. So it turned me upside down. For the women that are listening now, that I know I'm not alone in this arena, how could they rebuild their trust? What would you say the first steps are to rebuilding trust, to intimacy, and finding a way back to trusting a partner? I know this is kind of I think we're in the same river. We're just a little different stream.
Yeah. Yeah. I would say the first path it's you have to build trust between you, meaning you and your body in so many ways. And what I mean by this is there's so many times that we actually override our body, right? We override our intuition, we override our body, we don't listen, whether it's like saying yes when you really want to say no, or not speaking into your desires, or not learning. But it's like this soft tone. And the way that I've really developed a lot of trust between me and myself has been through my pain. And I know that's like on a different side, but like our
Not really.
pain, or like our headaches, and all of, whatever you might have, that's usually the first place that we abandon ourselves. We're like, oh, well, what's wrong with me? Like, I can probably just do this anyway. Like, I can't believe I'm sick again. We get angry. We're upset with our body. Why is my body holding me back? Why doesn't it look a certain way? Now I look old. Now I whatever. Like, these things that we say to ourselves.
Oh yeah, the blame that instantly it's like, what did I do wrong? Now I'm too old. I've lost my youth. If only. I mean, even for me, it all went through my head. And I had to rebuild that relationship with me and say, this was not about me. This is not what happened, was not about me, but building that you were right on, building that trust back with me, knowing who I was and what
Like,
I
I
really
see
wanted.
you. Yeah. Or like with me with my pain, when I'm really, like when I'm really sick, and like my first go-to is like, really, again, you're going to have a migraine today. Like, we had plans. And it's like, no, would I yell that to somebody else that's in pain? Absolutely not. I would be like, oh, baby girl,
so compassionate. Yeah.
I can see that you're hurting. How can I take care of you? What can I do? I've got your back. And really being clear when you start to hear these are just habitual messages. That's the other thing. If you know that your brain talks shit to you, like, welcome to the club. And let's not take it personally and be like, oh, my brain's trying to keep me safe, but I'm not available for that right now. Like, I love you. I still got you. I know my brain's delivering these messages to you, but hey, I'm still here. It's that soft tone to really develop trust again with your body, because then you know what that looks like with other people.
Oh, I love the grace and the love and the gentleness that you just, and being as someone who suffers from migraines. I mean, you were just like, you spoke to my heart there again. How can a woman reconnect with her body? And this might be the same answer that you just gave. If she feels numb, shut down, just tired, just so disconnected.
Yeah. I would say the easiest way, and we can drop this because I have a free, like, they can do it in their morning, but I have these couple of practices for a morning routine where it's like, don't worry, you're not doing anything different. You do the exact same thing you do every morning, but your attention is placed different. So one of the things I love to do is simply like in the shower, we shower or we bathe, or maybe it's your face care routine or whatever it might be, but practice like receiving it. Really, truly like receiving that touch from yourself when usually we're thinking about what's next and slapping the lotion on and the creams and blah, blah, blah. Like, it's just like go through. But when you go to a salon and there's a woman there washing your hair, you're like, oh my God, this feels so good.
The more nurturing, you're going to just receive some nurturing from you. Yeah, I like that.
So it's like, we just want to pretend like when you wash, it's like, oh, that smells so good. This feels so good. And then just a little love note, like, this is for you. Like, this is for you, woman. And it's those simple ways that we move towards these easy gestures that allow us to learn how to receive, but they also calm down our nervous system. That love, again, releases the oxytocin and we feel more connected, bonded, calm towards ourselves and with ourselves. So they might seem like silly things, but from the neurochemical level, they're not.
Oh, I love it because we're doing it. We're doing all the things anyway. We're just being very more the intention and the how
Yeah.
deliberate when you said, and I thought, oh yeah, I wash my face every morning, but more deliberate. I think I'm going to I do facials every month and I always tell her she has golden hands. I mean, it's like, it's magic. And I thought, I'm going to do that. I use the same products that she uses. I'm going to actually be more intentional about how I touch my face instead of just cleaning my face in the morning.
And then pretty soon they're going to be like, oh, I'm feeling a little tingle other places. I had no idea. And it's just because we're present. We're like, oh my gosh, there's so much like pleasure already there, just like waiting to burst out. We just need to pay attention to it.
Oh, I love this, Danielle. Is there anything I haven't asked that women need to know right now? Is there anything that we haven't touched on that you know that women need to know?
Yeah, I mean, the number one thing when it comes back to just having your own back is regardless of where you are, you didn't do anything wrong and you're not broken. And we can really take a look at like this as a moment where it's like, of course I showed up in this way, or of course I didn't know how to create intimacy, or of course I said yes when I really meant no. Like,
Right.
we can just have so much love and compassion for ourselves because we didn't know different. And you might still find yourself doing the same things or resisting or avoiding or not wanting to. Like, it's okay. But now do it through the lens of like, oh, I can really see this pattern now. Oh, there it is again. Okay, now I can think about what is it I'm wanting to create. This isn't a fix it conversation. This is a creation conversation, and that's going to change everything.
Is it ever too late to create the intimacy and the pleasure that women are desiring? Is there ever a moment where you're just like, you're past the point, just you missed,
No, I
you
mean,
missed
honestly, one of my clients, she was close to 70, and she was saying, like, after working together, she was like, I'm having better orgasms than I did, in my 20s. I didn't even know this was possible. And I got this other email from like this 85-year-old man, and he was just saying like how his listening to the podcast and learning this stuff had changed him and his 82-year-old girlfriend's life. And
oh my gosh, I love that. I mean, that lights me up. That lights me.
I was like, okay, that's like the best testimonial ever that I've ever gotten.
I think, Danielle, I mean, my clients are getting older. I mean, I have one a beautiful business coach that's 82 and 78 and I mean that are reinventing their lives and out there living their best lives. And it ain't over. I think that we're living longer and we're realizing we're taking better care of our bodies and we're understanding. And I think this permission that you just talked about and the intimacy, I think all of those things just create this longing and wanting to be more present in this life. This is such good stuff. It's such good stuff. So, okay. Last question. What feels like love in your life right now?
Oh my goodness. There's so many things that feel like love. I am so enjoying my daughters right now. Like that feels like, I mean, that just brings up emotion, but that feels like just so much overwhelming love. They're 11 and almost 14, and just this transition has been so fun, and holding space for all of the big emotions and the new emotions, and also really thinking about the conversation that we're having here because now they're older. So I'm thinking about how do I help create a different relationship for them with pleasure and rest and like joy and all of these things that I've had to rewire. Like, what does that look like for them? So
I love that. My daughters are much older, and someone said a while ago, you're so lucky that your daughters share so much with you. And I'm like TMI, I don't, but I am lucky. I feel really blessed now that through their college years that they shared a lot with me and that I was open for that. It's like, check, I might have done something right there. I did a lot.
Yes.
I did a lot wrong.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure they're going to be talking to a coach or therapist about all of
Oh,
the
yeah.
things I'm
Right
doing.
now. Right.
Like right now, they love talking to me and they
Yeah.
love
I
cuddling
love
me
it.
still and being with me. And it's amazing.
Oh, that's a beautiful thing. I love that. So how can people find you if this sparks their curiosity? How can people work with you? What do you got going on and what is your best platform for them to connect with you?
Yeah, so my website, daniellesavory.com. To be honest, I haven't really updated that in a while, but you can contact me there. So check that out. But I've got this amazing thing that I've been loving to do with people. I've never done this before, but well, I mean, I have been the last few months, but it's just a quick 90-minute session and that's it. So we have like a longer intake form. We do a 90-minute session and then you kind of have like your go-to and what you're going to do afterwards. And women have really been loving just doing that. One, let me talk to you about this. What do you think is my next best step? What are some of the tools that I could do? So it's kind of just this low commitment, amazing time for us to hang out. And that's called the Savory Session. So I would say that is the number one thing that people are loving right now.
Love that. Well, we'll have all the links, all the connections for Danielle. And Danielle, I love this conversation. Anytime I get you in the house or get you close, I miss your energy. You're just, I love your vibe. I love how open you are. And you just break the stigmas about things that should be normalized, that should be talked about. And I think that as women, if we could identify sooner what it is we're feeling, I think that we can ask for what we want more. But like, you said, we don't know what we want because
No one ever asked us.
no one ever asked us. Yeah. It's like, hello, hello. Well, thank you for showing up. Thank you for being here. I adore you. I love you. Remember, people, reach out. I love the Savory Session. If you are struggling, if you are in a place where you want to know more, I love that 90-minute Savory Session.
Yeah.
I might just book one myself. You just don't know.
Instagram too. Hit me up on Instagram.
Oh,
I forgot about that. Yeah.
yeah.
Danielle Savory.
Oh, yeah. I always love your videos there. It's always a great way to connect with her. All right, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. And until next time, may stay close to your heart and make sure you listen to your body. All right. Bye for now.